listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shamaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shamaya Reed.
Hey, welcome to I Am Refocused Radio. We are here once again, and just like any other day, we have another special guest for you. We have an amazing guest today, Ray Hartjen. And man, he's a writer. He's a musician living in Pleasanton, California. And he has an amazing story. He's battled cancer. He has an amazing career in various industries that we'll kind of explore throughout the whole show. And man, I could spend probably 40 minutes on his bio, but I want to get him in the show and say, hey, Ray, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, Samaya. Thanks so much for the warm introduction. It's a pleasure to be on the show, and thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Appreciate your time, man. Before we talk about you battling cancer and being able to use that as a source of inspiration to share with the world, you kind of have a various diverse background in industries, from investment banking to pharmaceuticals to consumer electronics. You kind of take the floor and share with the audience a little bit about your background.
Yeah, I guess that's one way of saying it. Some people might look at it saying, "Hey, man, you have a difficult time keeping a job, right?" But I throughout my career, I'm 59 years old. I'll be turning 60 shortly. So I've been in the professional work environment for quite some time, but. I think as maybe typical with, my generation, the generations that follow, you begin to, as you gain more and more experience, you gain more and more knowledge, you gain more and more exposure to different things, you develop new and evolving passions, right? And, how can you, I think you owe it to yourself. I certainly owed it to myself to explore those passions. I was super interested in investment banking when I got out of undergrad school, but, after 5 years that really tired me, not so much the work, but the people associated in the business, and needed to retool myself. Got into organizational development, got with that consulting, and through it all, I think the common denominator has just been this ability to tell stories, right? And I think all of us are. As in the professional environment, you can really boil down your job into storytelling, depending on the aspects you are. Everyone has a narrative. What's that? How are you presenting that, and how are you pitching it? And I think that's kind of the common denominator, and it led over time to writing songs and writing books, writing articles. So it's. While I've had a lot of different positions in different industries, I think the common theme has always been, that kind of fascination with storytelling, learning, and then helping to educate and help others learn. Make sense?
Yeah, and you mentioned music, and I think that's awesome because I had to know a little bit more about you and your two-piece acoustic band, the Chronic Progress. Tell us a little bit about that whole experience.
Yeah, I gave a reference earlier to my age, and it got about 10 years ago. It got to the point of, man, I don't want to start gigs at 10 o'clock at night, and get home at 3 and have to deal with a whole bunch of gear and stuff like that. So I went to this, guy we've been jamming around for a decade or so, just, hanging out on each other's couches, songwriting and the like, and noodling around with the guitar. I said, hey, Scott, man, what do you say? A new type of thing for as we get into our golden years. Two people, acoustic guitars, take our favorite songs, strip them down, sort of like, everyone loves MTV Unplugged episodes and things like that. And, let's just be a happy hour band, 3 to 7, we're home by 8 o'clock and get a good night's sleep. And so for the last 10 years or so, that's what we've been doing. We're blessed to be in a part of Northern California, lots of wineries, of course, breweries and the like. And we are a patio band, a happy hour band. We bill ourselves as the Northern California's happy hour house band, right? So, we have our own original music. we've also, are aware of the fact that when you're sitting around out on a sunny day, sipping a glass of wine, you don't necessarily want to listen to Chronic Padres music. And, maybe you'd like to listen to some of your old favorites. So we'd like to take our favorite songs, strip them down to their bare essentials, just the guitar and vocal, and have fun with people. So I think, that's always been the cool thing about music is having fun with people. And we're trying to do it on a regular basis.
You listen on Refocus Radio, talking to our guest, Ray Hartjen. And let's go to the story. In March of 2019, you found out something that would change you. Tell us a little bit about that and what was going through your mind.
Yeah, Shemaiah, I had a routine blood test pop up that showed for the first time I ever had an abnormal blood value on a CBC, a complete blood count. I was anemic. And, we waited a couple of weeks and, went through another test, and it confirmed my anemic finding. And it took a few months to finally get to it. But, finally I got diagnosed with a blood cancer called multiple myeloma. It's an incurable cancer, but a treatable cancer. That was March of 2019. It's led me through a journey of fighting cancer, of course. Upon my diagnosis, I was immediately put on an induction therapy of immunotherapy, chemotherapy, and leading up to a stem cell transplant. In October and November of 2019, I went through an autologous stem cell transplant, a process where they took my own stem cells, bombarded my body with chemotherapy to kill as much myeloma as possible. The collateral damage of that was it destroyed my bone marrow. So then they, reintroduced my stem cells to me later, November 5th, 2019, my second birthday. That allowed, my stem cells to go find these, empty homes, with my hollowed out bones and begin to create bone marrow. And then since that point, I've been involved with, maintenance treatments, I'm actively under treatment with continuing immunotherapy and chemotherapy, and will be for the rest of my life unless something happens from a developmental perspective with multiple myeloma and we get a cure for it, which is part of the reason I wrote this book, Me, Myself, and My Multiple Myeloma. I wanted to, I had the blessings of being interviewed for some videos and some articles and the like after my diagnosis. And through social media, people reached out to me, asking a lot of questions. And I thought, is there a way that I can do a one-to-many as opposed to a one-to-one? And so I thought the book would be a good idea, but I wanted to be sincere about it and, make it a book, from the community, to the community, for the community. So with that in mind, I've pledged my net writers proceeds to benefit the Multiple Myeloma Research Foundation. I think it's important to me to raise awareness about blood cancer, and to tell my story to patients and patient caregivers and their allies, to let everybody know kind of what I experienced, maybe what they may or may not experience as well, and in the way hopefully providing that resource, but raising funds to fight for a cure. One of the things that I certainly want to talk to you about is, when I first got diagnosed, people reach out to me and say, what can I do for you? And I had trouble accepting help. First of all, I didn't feel as though I needed a bunch of help. I'm blessed to have my wife of nearly 30 years, Lori, alongside me, and she's my rock, right? A great support system. But over time, I became very well rehearsed in what people can provide me. And one of the things I've got them down into 4. One is to go see your doctor. Shemaiah, I told you that, when I got, I just had this routine blood test. I'm a road cyclist, and the metrics that I had on my performances on my bicycle when I was 54 years old going through this diagnosis journey were every bit as good as my performance metrics the previous 5 years. Now, in hindsight, I may have been a bit fatigued, but I was 54 years old, a full-time job, 2 kids in private universities, a wife. I mean, give me a break. I deserve to be a bit fatigued, right? Yeah. But I felt that the message is I felt good. But that routine blood test, led to other tests, a bone marrow biopsy. That bone marrow biopsy showed that 90% of my bone marrow was cancerous. I felt good. but 90% of my bone marrow was cancerous. A message to you and to all of your audience, go see your doctor. If you cannot invest in yourself, who can you invest into? Second thing I want you all to do is, I call them the twos, and you don't need a doctor to tell you what the twos are. The twos are things that you already know. You might smoke too much, you drink too much, you eat too few fruits and vegetables, you exercise too little, et cetera. So understand your twos and mitigate your risk factors as you see fit. Number three, if you know anybody is going through a chronic health condition, a serious chronic health condition, and they're alone, do them a favor and do yourself a favor, do your heart and your soul a favor and reach out to them. You might not know what to say, but you can start there by saying, Shemaiah, man, I love you and I care for you. I don't know what to say, but can you help me? Let's work through this conversation because I want to be there for you, right? I can tell you in our U.S. medical system, we get inundated daily with, insurance correspondence, pharmaceutical correspondence, care provider correspondence. It can be overwhelming. And that's not even, that's just the correspondence. That's not your medical schedules with your appointments and all your tests, your medications, the way you feel mentally, and the burden sometimes that you might carry around. It's tough. If you know somebody doing it by themselves, please reach out to them. And the fourth and final thing in my very well rehearsed speech of what people can do for me is, find your passion. We're all in this together and we all get something. So you will know when your passion comes, exposes itself to you, because it'll just be this kind of itch that you just can't scratch enough. And when it comes about, donate your time, donate your money, donate both. Like I said, we're all in this together. We all get something. So let's work, hand in hand, elbow to elbow, and help us all get through it.
For you to have a positive mindset and very upbeat in this interview, I mean, someone who could be going through, something similar, but definitely on their own, unique terms. What will be your encouragement for those who just feel like, man, it's a struggle to get out of bed and just to have a positive outlook, towards life?
Yeah, it's a great question. I look at my personal experiences. I look at my whole being, Shemaiah, as this collection, this like these four gears that kind of work together. And as a musician, I very specifically think about it as a mixing board in a studio with these levels that you can push up and down. And for me, the components of my oneness, my wholeness is my physical well-being, my mental well-being, my emotional well-being, and my spiritual well-being. And I feel as though for me is that if one of those areas is lacking, it can threaten to bring down the rest of those levels. And I'll give you an example. When I was first diagnosed, I don't think I'm atypical. I think it's kind of, that most people, when they're diagnosed with something like an incurable blood cancer, when I woke up in the morning, cancer was the first thing I thought about. And when I went to bed at night, cancer was, the last thing I thought about. And a lot of times during the day in between, cancer was what I was thinking about. But, all through my life, I've always, whether it's been musically, athletically, academically, professionally, I've always kind of worked toward milestones. There were these deliverables. There was a concert, a gig, a race, or, a game. There's always something, right? And so, I approached my cancer like that, it's like, all right, I'm going to work out. I'm going to watch what I eat, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'm going to attack this thing. And, after 2 weeks, Shemaiah, I was exhausted, man. I went out to dinner with the family and I was just sitting there. It's like 6:00 at night. And I'm like, I am beat. I was beat physically, but it was because of this, like the mental burden of carrying the cancer, the emotional bit of it, the spiritual aspect of it. And it was just dragging me down, and so I needed to recognize that in my cancer fight, there was no fight night. There was no game day. I've got a chronic condition. Every day is game day. Every night is fight night. And so I needed to do something more sustainable, right? And so when I look at these four areas, example for me, I like to exercise. I like to work out. When I exercise and take care of my physical component, it makes me feel good. There's that mental and emotional aspect, right? And when I feel good, then I've got the energy to go to the grocery store and source, nutritious food and come home and make a good, healthy meal for myself. And they all kind of come together, right? If I find the spiritual aspect down, what can I do to take care of my spiritual side to help, lift the other areas up? So, my recommendation to maybe people who are, having a hard time getting a go at it is, maybe recognize the fact that that there's more components that are influencing the way that you feel. And then, try to be introspective enough to investigate each one of those different components and see where you need help. And then don't be afraid to ask for help, to let people know, how you feel, whether it's mentally or emotionally. I know, there's different levels of, comfort with that, but, people want to help. And if you don't know anybody that wants to help, there's social services out there that want to help you. So, reach out, get the help that you need, but, try to be aware of all these different influences that impact your life and push and pull upon those levers to help you feel better. And there's aspects of your life that don't add value. Think about ways of maybe limiting that or eliminating them completely. Example might be social media. It might be the news, watching the news. Man, watching the news just gets me bummed out, and I hate being bummed out. Step number one, man, when you find yourself in a hole, put down your shovel. and then, let's see about, getting out of the hole.
Man, that's a great illustration that you put with put the shovel down, because I feel like that happens a lot. From any perspective, broad perspective in life, we can find ourselves digging into situations that it's like, oh, wow, if I don't stop digging, it's going to be almost impossible to get out of this hole.
And there's enough people out there digging that hole for us already, right? Yeah. We don't need to add to it. So let's put down our own shovel, and then we can kind of think about, what can we do to mitigate the effects of all the other people's shovels that are creating a hole for me.
You mentioned about services out there. Are there any particular nonprofit organizations that you became aware of, or just any local community centers or just resources that, you might find that someone who's listening to this may be able to look into their own city and see if there's something similar for them to be involved with to kind of bring that energy back?
For me, I'd never heard of multiple myeloma. And so it was the Multiple Myeloma Research Foundation, that provides some resources for me to understand, my disease and the treatments that go about it. One of the things that I started participating in right away was a support group. And I had never done support groups before. It's, having had 40 plus years of involvement in music, I've had plenty of people that have plenty of people I know that have gone through, various, addiction groups and things like that. But I've never gone through a group thing. And I find going to group is great. What little I know about cancer has been provided to me from all the people that have gone before me, so being at a group, there's sometimes that I need somebody to reach back and grab my hand and pull me forward. And that, there's times like right now, I feel great, and, let me be that guy, who out there needs a lift forward, and let me reach back and grab it and help you forward and let's move together. So, sometimes people help me and sometimes I help them. But try the support groups. If you're dealing with a health issue or something like that, ask your doctors about it. There are a lot of groups out there that are very, very specific, and then there are groups that are general. But I found the support group to be good, and it's been good for me, and I think it's been good for my fellow group members.
I feel like you are that hand that's reaching out to our audience right now, helping them get put out their darkness. So I appreciate you sharing that personal side to this episode. Once again,
I love what you're doing. I love this whole aspect of refocused, and I am refocused, right? And when I was first diagnosed, I used to facilitate this timeline exercise that you and a lot of your audience might already be familiar with. But I like to encourage folks. You want to snap yourself into refocusing, right? Take a piece of paper start on the left-hand side and draw a horizontal line from left to right. On the left-hand side, make a little tick mark at the end. Right-hand side, make a little tick mark at the end. What you've just done is create the timeline of your life. The left-hand side is your birth. The right-hand side is your death. And then take an introspective moment to say, where do you think you are right now? And when I got diagnosed with cancer, that tick mark, man, before that, Shemaiah, I was going to live forever, and I don't know where my tick mark was, but it was like midway. But instantly, overnight, my tick mark moved a lot farther to the right, and it snapped me awake. And there's a couple of things I wanted to share with you. One, that timeline exercise said, like, man, you want to get some stuff done. What's your legacy? What are you going to do? What are you going to do for your family? How do you want to be remembered and things like that? And that, that led me to, first of all, understanding that with my timeline having moved to the right in my head for the first time, none of us know where our timeline is. We have the gift of today, and a lot of people didn't get the gift of today, Shemaiah, right? But we have it, and but tomorrow's not promised, right? And one of the things I understood that I did, and I think it's fairly maybe a part of the human condition, and that is taking too much for granted. And for the things that I took for granted was certainly time, but also people and relationships. I took all tomorrows for granted, next week's, next month, next year, in some instances, next decades. I just took those for granted. They'd be there. And I would take people for granted. Like, Shemaiah, man, I'm thinking about him. I should reach out to him. I'll reach out to him next week. He'll be there for me next week. And that's a bad way in my view of living, right? It's like, I'm going to drop him a line right now. I care for him. I love him. I want to talk to him, or at least I want to let him know I'm thinking about him. How long does it take to dictate a text into your phone and hit send, right? And so that timeline exercise for me helped me identify in my life that I took things for granted that I didn't want to do. And being a musician and always looking for a way to put some more food on the table, I'm always on the search for a pithy little saying to put on the back of a T-shirt so we can sell them at gigs and get a few extra bucks, right? And it led to this idea of if not now, when. That this timeline exercise shows me that I think that I'm a lot further to the right than I had been previously. So if not now, when? And that has led me to writing a couple of books, for example. It's like, I want to do this, if not now, when? And it's led me to another saying for another T-shirt, and that is punch today in the face, right? I want today to know that I've been here. In the old horse riding lexicon, it's written hard and put up wet, and I want to squeeze every last drop out of today that I can, doing the things that are most important to me and the people I love. And at the end of the night, I've got this sense of fulfillment, this sense of inner peace, and I can glance over figuratively toward tomorrow, point my finger at tomorrow and say, hey, man, I'm coming for you next. Refocus yourself, try that timeline exercise. And then, start thinking about what's most important for you. What gives you the greatest sense of joy and satisfaction, gives you peace of mind, to you and the people that you love. And let's get those things done, man. Let me know how I can help and I'll do it with you.
We're talking to Ray Hartjen, writer, musician, and cancer patient advocate. And in the last 3 minutes we have left in this show, it felt like we just started like 30 seconds ago. But when you look at the opportunity that's in front of you, we heard the saying many times before, is about the windshield and not the rearview mirror that matters. How do you keep yourself from not staying fixated on the rearview mirror, but being open to always be aware of what opportunities are ahead of you?
Yeah, I can't change anything that rearview mirror. That timeline exercise, everything's history. I can maybe try to revise it, and there might be regrets and things like that. But years ago, I as a consultant, one of our clients was Nordstrom, and one of the things that Nordstrom taught me is that there are no problems, there are opportunities. And so to reframe that for 35 years now or so, I've kind of always viewed these challenges, these obstacles, what some people might view as problems. They're opportunities, man. So let's go out there and try to seize the day. Punch today in the face, and what can I do to to take advantage of these lessons. But I think Lamar Jackson, quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens. No, excuse me, it's Jalen Hurts, quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles. He talks about games. You either win or you learn. And I like that type of approach. You don't lose, you're learning, right? So when you have these problems, change your mindset. This isn't a problem. This is an opportunity. How am I going to address this opportunity? How can I take advantage of this opportunity? And so as I look out my windshield, looking forward, I like to view those challenges and those obstacles. I like the challenge anyway. It's like embrace the challenge, right? And try to refocus as being opportunity based as opposed to problem based. For me, it changes my mindset completely.
Once again, talking to our guest, Ray Hartjen. You can go to his website, rayhartjen.com. Check out his books. He has everything on the store. Just go click on the store in the far top right corner. And right there, you can find his 2 books that he's selling. And first and foremost, I want to say thank you for taking time to talk to us today. But if someone listening right now, they want to connect with you, what's the best way they can do that?
Yeah, best way to connect me is you can't connect through my website, but I'd rather I've put this in my book. My email address is my name. It's RayHartjen at gmail.com. And if you want to talk to me, phone number, and I'm serious, particularly if you're a multiple myeloma patient and you've got questions, you've got concerns, you just want someone to talk to, my phone number is 925-895-5441. If there's anything I can do for you, man, I learned both that phone number thing and that email thing from a writer named Bob Goff, a gentleman from Southern California. And it was very meaningful for me that he would be willing to put that out in a book. And I'm like, you know what? He's a role model for me. I'm going to do it the same, because if I can be a resource to you, Shemai, anybody in your wonderful audience, please reach out to me. I want to be there for you. This is my calling now. I'm a cancer patient advocate, also a caregiver advocate, because that ain't easy. So if I can help, please reach out to me. I'd be happy. It'd be my honor to listen and to help.
Once again, go visit his website, rayhartjen.com. And again, thank you for not just a powerful story, but your time sharing it with the listeners.
I appreciate you and appreciate what you do. Thank you so much for having me on I Am Refocused. I appreciate the opportunity. Very grateful.